The Trump administration is turning America into an authoritarian state. There's some very specific indicators of this, and they should trouble all of us. Check it out, leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. I mean, let's just consider who this guy is and what he's been up to, right? First of all, the first investigation into Donald Trump, his campaign, and its association or its possible association specifically with Russia, I think, frankly, it should have been a lot broader than that. But nonetheless, that lasted 15 months. It produced 34 indictments and charges of individuals, 3 indictments of companies, 5 guilty pleas, 4 convictions. The over 191 criminal charges, 2 counts of conspiracy against the United States, 2 counts of conspiracy to launder money, 8 counts of bank fraud, 10 counts of bank fraud conspiracy, 10 counts of subscribing to false tax returns, and we still don't know what's in Trump's tax returns. 6 counts of making false statements, 13 counts of conspiracy to defraud the United States. 24 counts of aggravated identity theft. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The Republicans know, and this is the amazing thing. I mean, it's like somebody this morning was making the comment about, you know, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it must be a piano. Right. Republicans are not unaware of the fact that Donald Trump is guilty of obstructing justice, of obstructing Congress, and of trying to bribe a foreign leader. And in fact, I would say extort a former leader. I mean, this is common knowledge. They're not disputing the facts. They know that the people who showed up as witnesses against Donald Trump, I mean, I think Zelensky was Vindman, Alexander Vindman. He showed up to testify, talked about how his dad, who had lived under the Soviet Union, how his dad was so worried that his son was going to speak out against the president. And he said, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll be fine." And then what did the Army do the next day? I mean, literally the next morning, they had to move him from his off-base home onto a military base because of all the death threats he was getting. I mean, these people from Christine Blasey Ford forward, anybody who has spoken up against Trump or any of the people who are loyal to Trump has literally put their lives at risk. And the Republicans know this. And they sanction this. They're not speaking out against this. I'm not hearing, Ted Cruz or any of these guys come out and say, you shouldn't go after these witnesses. No, they got no problem with that. The Republicans all know that if there was one piece of evidence out there that would show that Donald Trump was not guilty of the crimes that he's being impeached for, one piece of evidence, that he would present it to Congress, or at the very least, he would present it on Fox so-called news. Instead, his only defense is, there's nothing there. I mean, this is a guy who has lied over 10,000 times, who is getting rich at the expense of you and me. Our tax dollars are going to support his properties all around the world. He's put his own interest over the interest of the country. Rana Foroohar is one of the editors over at Financial Times, and a week or so ago, in fact, it was December 1st, there's a newsletter that the Financial Times publishes called Swamp Notes. And, I get it in email. I think it comes every day. Maybe it's a couple days a week. And she just reprinted the Declaration of Independence. And I'm reading this going, whoa. I mean, this is from the Declaration of Independence. This is the indictment against King George, I believe it was the second, ultimately they declared independence from, and then the third that they ended up fighting the war against. I may have that wrong, but in any case, King George of England. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. Right? In other words, he won't sign off on laws that are good for people, like maybe prohibiting AK-47s or AR-15s. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent shall be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. Like maybe not letting California define its own emission standards? I mean, how many examples can you think of there? He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations for lands. Gee, you think about the wall, think about the 16-year-old kid who died in ICE custody, laying on the floor, a cold floor of a cell with 103-degree fever, writhing in pain for 25 minutes on camera, and then dies. The law says ICE can only hold him for 3 days. He had been there 6 days. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. Now, for that, I would point to what looks like a corrupt deal with Anthony Kennedy and his son to get Mr. Brett Kavanaugh in. But before that, I mean, this wasn't Trump, this was Mitch McConnell, but Merrick Garland, anybody? He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. Right. Donald Trump was bragging last week. 1 in 5 federal judges now is a Trump appointee. He has appointed more judges than any president in the history of the United States, and he's only been in office three years. Franklin Roosevelt was in office for, what, 11 years? No, it was longer than that, from 1933 to 1945, whatever that is. 12 years? 13 years? Trump has put more judges into place. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. Yeah, like, enlisting Ukraine to find dirt or to create dirt on your political opponent. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. Well, I'd just say screwing up our trade. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. I think you could say safely that all the blue states feel that way. He raised, he eliminated your ability to deduct your property taxes if they're over $10,000 a year in blue states, among other things. I mean, look at what he's doing with emissions controls. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. Does that remind you of climate change? Literally, America is on fire. Our coasts are at risk. This is the Declaration of Independence. Meanwhile, another thing that Donald Trump is doing is turning the United States into an authoritarian state. In an authoritarian state, if you speak out against the authoritarian, you put your life at risk. I already ranted about that. In a healthy democracy, you have a high level of tolerance for differences of opinion. In autocracies, in authoritarian states, no, you can't have that. And this is what's going on. I mean, the norms, the standards of political dialogue in the United States that we historically had have been blown up since the advent of Fox News. And Rupert Murdoch helping bring to power these authoritarian right-wingers, just like in England, just like in Australia. I mean, the entire idea that the rule of law is like the thing that we honor, that's become a partisan debate. The Republicans are saying, oh, Trump broke the law. Yeah, that's okay. He's the president. You can't even investigate a president when he's in office. I mean, Ambassador Yovanovitch said, no, I'm not going to break the law here for you, Donald Trump. He fired her. And then he told Zelensky she's going to go through some things. Another hallmark of authoritarianism, great article about this, by the way, by Ruth Ben-Gate over at CNN. Another hallmark of authoritarianism is that it promotes, authoritarian governments produce, quote, alternative facts. They promote things that are not true as if they were true. It's a divide and rule strategy, and it's tearing America apart. This is authoritarianism, also known as abuse of power, also known as what the first article of impeachment is titled.